Hey everyone, Mystic here coming at you with another video. Today we finally got the new league reveal, the fate of the Vaal for Path of Exile 2. There were a ton of things that were discussed during the league reveal, and I'm going to go over some of those things here, and then as well some of the things that I think I was looking for that we didn't necessarily get. But be sure to let me know what you thought down below in the comments, and while you're here, hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out. So let's go ahead, let's dive into it. We're going to go over the new Druid class. We're going to go over the new mechanic, the temple that you run through, the support and skill tree changes that they talked about, in-game changes that they talked about, and then again, some of the things that I was looking for that I didn't hear that we're not going to get moving forward. Now, they did say that the Druid took a very, very long time to develop, so that's probably why we're not getting a lot of new content as far as like acts or changes to campaigns or in-game activities. So, you know, we got to take and give, right? So the Druid class took a lot of time for them to get completed, so it took from other areas. So we have to give and we have to take, right? So let's go ahead and get into it. The new Druid class is a strength and intelligence based character. This is really interesting because like we can be a spellcaster as a Druid and then switch kind of to, you know, an in your face attacking you, you know, animal. It's really interesting, and when I was watching them do the playthrough on the reveal, it was really cool to see how they were doing that, how they're changing from each to, you know, from their Druid, the normal human character, to their animal character. And there are 3 forms that we can take. So it is the bear, the wolf, and the wyvern, and each one kind of offers its different take, right? The bear is got a lot of fire and slam attacks, and it seems like it's really powerful. The wolf has a lot of cold and these slashing attacks, and again is a very melee based character. And then you have a wyvern that can do ranged attacks, fire attacks. It can grow plants. It has water attacks. It has like oil based things that helps it set stuff on fire. So there's a whole lot going on here, and a whole lot that we're going to have to just really consume when we get into the league to figure out how this is all really working and how we can play with the build and make these things all work together. The talismans are required to transform, so we'll see what those skills are, or what you know what's on the talismans once we get into the league. You can change instantly, and you can just go from one to the other. You can go from, you know, your human character to bear character to wolf character. You can have multiples of the animals. Like you have multiple changes, so you can go from a human to a wolf to a bear, right? It's not just like you're stuck with one or the other. You can actually mix it up however you want. I didn't hear them mention anything about a timer, as in like a cooldown. So it seems like you can switch to bear or wolf or wyvern and be that way the entire time. Now, I don't think that's going to be the best route to go. Obviously, you want to go back and forth, but that is kind of nice to know that we don't have to worry about a cooldown. It's not like we get the bear for 30 seconds or 20 seconds and then we have to wait for a cooldown. As I said before, you can have multiple forms and change whenever. So you can go human, bear, wolf, whatever it is, however you want to make that build work. You can go between those however you want. The builds that we saw did seem to require lots of rage or power endurance charges. So some of those uniques that have like no inherent loss of rage are probably going to go up in value. I did see a couple of the ascendancies had some rage building and no inherent loss stuff, kind of like that. So maybe that's going to help offset that, but we'll really have to see once the league is released to see what the ascendancies are and how we're going to play with them. There are 2 ascendancies, the Shaman and the Oracle for the Druid. The Shaman allows runes to have additional effects on those runes. So like, whereas before it was like, oh, you know, it gave you cold resistance or cold damage or whatever, the Shaman actually allows those runes to have additional modifiers only available to the Shaman ascendancy. So that's something that can really help, you know, shape up some of these builds and allows for a variance of those builds. Whereas the Oracle has time effects. Like they were saying it allows you to kind of see what the boss is going to do, and you can damage both the actual boss and the look ahead boss at the same time. So maybe some double damage effects going on there. But again, we're really going to have to jump in league to figure out what these are. That was kind of a quick breakdown of the Druid class. I mean, there was obviously so much more going on here, and I will link the video down below if you want to go watch it for yourself, because there's just so much going on. This class is going to require a lot of tinkering, I think, just in the fact of how are we going to build these characters? How are we going to make them work? and switching in between both human and animal form, and then all of the button presses we're going to have to do because of the skills and and everything that's going on in there. I think it's going to be very difficult in the beginning, but I think we'll get it down quick enough. But it is going to require us to do a lot of management of our skills, which is kind of different. A lot of the builds have been like one button presses or a couple button presses. This is going to be, I think, a very intense class, or could be a very intense class. I'm very excited for it. I can't wait to get into it. I'm probably going to do a druid to start the league with a wolf, because the cold is one of my favorite things to do, cold attacks and freezing and stuff like that. So that's probably how I'm going to go. To get into it, so the new league mechanic is these temples. So essentially what you're doing is you're running through the maps, and you have to basically complete these arcane devices that will unlock a portal to the temple. Now, in the temple, you will get 6 rooms every time you go in, and you're basically putting these rooms together to get to the end, which is a new pinnacle boss fight with Aziri. But while you're in there, you're placing these rooms down that offer you rewards for whatever it is that you do. You can also increase the level of those rooms based on what you place around it or near it to make the room not only harder to complete, but to increase the loot and the better loot you can get. There are a few things in here that are very interesting. The corruption chambers allow us to double corrupt an item. So this is something that before, when you corrupted an item, you could not do anything else to it. Now we have an option to double corrupt. This could make things very, 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 very strong, but it does come at a cost of a 50% chance of destroying the item. So if you're going to corrupt this item, there's a 50% chance that it gets destroyed. And we are corrupting, so there's no guarantee that this corrupt could be good. This corrupt could also brick a very good item, but it could also double corrupt an item to make it incredible. I'm really interested to see how that's going to work and what that does to the items that we're going to corrupt. We are also now able to corrupt skill gems inside of this temple. There's rooms that allow us to do that. There are new corrupted soul cores that you can get from certain boss fights inside of the temple. One of the interesting things is that if you don't want to, you don't have to craft the items while you're in there. You can take all of these rewards, including the double corrupts, out, and you can use them later, or you can sell them for currency. These will probably be very, very valuable items, especially the double corrupts. I think those are probably going to be very, very expensive in the new league. The surgeon's table is also something in here. So basically you defeat a boss, and then there's a surgeon's table left, which allows you to replace one of your 4 limbs. Now you can do all 4 limbs eventually, but replacing that limb gives you different abilities for your character, so that these buffs will go into effect on your character, and then if you die, you lose that. We didn't get to see all of them, so obviously, again, we'll have to be in league to see them. We can also remove socketable items from an item now, but if you remove that item, you are or if you remove that rune, you are destroying it. So this will be good for like leveling up kind of stuff, or, you know, I really wouldn't use this on higher end items that you could turn around and sell for many divines. But for like the +1 level of all spell skills that last league was costing like 20 divine, this will be great if you're leveling up. It's maybe some chaoses, or maybe a 1 or 2 divine wand. It's not really worth selling. You could pull that 20 div socket item out of it and save it. So that's also something that we get here. One of the other items that I didn't put on here that I want to talk about is they're saying that basically when you do these arcane devices, you are able to stack them multiple times. So you don't have to always run the temple at one time. You can save up these runs and then run a bunch of them at once, which would allow us, you know, basically not to have to interrupt our mapping, but it allows us to do a big portion of the temple at a time. So there's a lot of things going on here. There's a lot of things that alter the rooms that we're gonna have to figure out while we're in the league, and I'm really excited about it. Seems really interesting. It's just really a time thing, right? Is it worth running all of these rooms, or are you trying to get to the end for the new pinnacle boss fight with Aziri? I don't know. We'll have to see if the rewards really are worth it outside of a few of them, or do we just want to run to Aziri as fast as possible and do the pinnacle boss fight? We'll have to figure that out. The supports in the skill tree. So some of the things that they changed, they've added 30 new additional support gems. They didn't really go into a lot of them. We'll just have to see when we're in there. But this is going to help us with our build variation and making more builds, you know, accessible and work, I think. So this is very, very good. I've been talking about how we need more builds, and I think this is really going to help us out. There are 130 new passives in the Druid section of the skill tree, but they added over 250 new passives in the skill tree on top of that. So this, again, is going to allow us to have better build options and make newer, better builds. There are 11 new uniques with a rebalancing of older ones that they said people weren't using. The uniques are okay. I don't think we need more. I think we really just need a rebalancing of the ones that we have and possibly even a reduction of the uniques. There's just too many and a lot of them don't work. Maybe the rebalancing will change that. We'll have to see. Lineage supports were also rebalanced, a lot of them, as well as adding 9 additional new ones. Again, we'll just have to see. A lot of them weren't even viable, so we'll see what the rework does, what the rebalance does, and what the new ones bring to the table. They did a bunch of ascendancy rebalances throughout the classes. They didn't get into that, but they did do a bunch of ascendancy rebalances, and they did 90 skill rebalances. Again, hopefully this helps us have better build options and more characters and more builds that are fun to run in the end game. All of this, though, is very, very good. I think it gives us more options, and it's making me happy because I want to explore the builds, and I like just kind of tinkering with them. So these are all good changes. So the in-game changes, Abyss now have their own Atlas skill tree so we can farm them. I think these will be really, really important. I loved farming the Abyss, and I think a lot of the items that we got out of it were worth a lot. And this is going to allow us to farm them specifically, which is very, very good. Tablets can now be upgraded to a rare with 4 modifiers, and the buffs have been increased and can now be corrupted. This is huge. The fact that we could only get 2 modifiers on them before always kind of felt small. It just didn't feel good. But now we can have 4. The buffs have been increased, thank goodness. That was something that we needed once it went live with the new mapping system that they brought out last league. So the buffs definitely needed increased, and now they can be corrupted. So we could see some really crazy tablets. This is going to help us with mapping, waystone crafting, and we're going to talk about waystones here in just a second. But I really like the changes that were done to the tablets. We are no longer needed to instill waystones, and we don't have to go and do the abyssal modifiers on the waystones anymore. They felt like that was clumsy and it just didn't work, so they removed that. And they also reduced the delirium fog on the maps. Thank goodness. It was so hard to see in those. It's a welcome change that they reduced that. So the waystones now can be modified just like they always have been, but you don't have to go in and do all of these instills. You don't have to go and do the abyssal modifiers and stuff like that. All of that stuff can be worked in through the traditional means of upgrading them. Oh, excuse me. And as well as the modifiers now on the tablets being specific to those farmable items. So very good. I know waystone crafting can be terrible. I did a ton of it last league, and it kind of got terrible. Let's just be honest. It became way too much, and it took away from the game. I'm glad that these changes have come. I think it's going to help out a lot. Monster scaling is no longer happening either, whereas before, they had lower scaling at the lower waystone level, and then they ramped it up all the way up to 15. They're not doing that anymore. They're scaling up the difficulty of the maps, the rewards that you get, and the monster hit points, HP is going up 40%. So basically, instead of having a mob of monsters on T15, T16 waystones, you're now going to have about the same amount of monsters, but they're going to be harder, and they're going to have 40% more HP. But they are going to drop better rewards in the end. So again, I think this is good for when you're getting swarmed. I think this will help like hardcore, especially because there are times, especially like when you're doing the abyssal stuff, that you just get consumed, right? And I think this will help with that a lot. One of the biggest things they talked about, they did do game optimization. Finally, they're going to allow the game to access more cores on our CPUs. No longer are we going to have a lot of strain on a single or, just a very small amount of cores. This is going to help the game just operate so much better, so much smoother, better frame rates. This was huge when they were talking about this. This is something that I've been talking about for a long time. My PC is a very good PC, but it sounds like a jet engine when this game is running at certain points because the game is just requiring so many resources in such a small area. Now with the optimization, hopefully it can spread out and everybody's computers and game systems can run more efficiently. Again, very, very good changes. I'm glad a lot of these things are in here. These are things that I'm excited about. What we didn't get, these were a few things that just for me, I was looking at and I was like, man, I really wish we got these and we just didn't. A new trial. I was really hoping we would get a new trial. I love running trials. If you guys watch my stream, I run trials all the time. I love doing them. They're some of my favorite things to do. I love the Sekima's trials. We actually just completed not too long ago, a few weeks ago, a no-hit run on the Sekima's. It was incredible. I love trials and I wanted a new one. We just didn't get it. Again, the Druid class took so much of their time and all of the other changes in the new league mechanic. We have to give and take, right? A new trial, not high on their list. And I get that. I understand that. More in-game activities. So we did get the new league mechanic, but we didn't get anything else really, right? We didn't get a lot more pinnacle bosses. We only got the one. We didn't get any other mechanics to go into the in-game. It's just, we got one pinnacle boss and the league mechanics. So I wish we could have gotten a little bit more, but again, I understand. And kind of leading to that next point, right? No in-game activities. That was it. We got the Vaal Temple and that was really about it. The Vaal Temple and the one pinnacle boss. So in all, we didn't get a lot of in-game stuff, but we got a lot of other things that I think will help keep us interested in the game for a much longer time. The build stuff, the new classes, all of the new mapping capabilities. I think this was a very good reveal. I can't wait for next week. I wish I could wake up and it was next Friday so that way we can jump into this. But let me know, guys. Let me know what you thought about the reveal. And like I said, I will link it down below so you can go watch it yourselves if you didn't get to watch it. And yeah, guys, hit me up. Let me know. I'm live every day, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll see you all out there. Later, guys.